Hey guys, how are we doing? It's Cryptoinsightuk here, bringing you back another YouTube video. This is going to be a replacement for the weekly roundup this week. The reason for that being is we actually did record the weekly roundup yesterday, but me being me, accidentally deleted it. I am on antibiotics at the minute. I've got a bit bad stomach in Bali, but we don't need to talk about that really, unless you guys want to get into details. But yeah, I accidentally deleted that, and the time zones are really hard to record again, so I am just going to record this instead. It's a bit of a different video. We're going to get into some charts today. We've got specifically a few XRP charts and a few XRP bits of news to look at. I just want to show you a bit about the wider macro as well. We're starting with the S&P and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, just to give you an idea of where we are, and then I want to try and finish with like some things to look forward to and some things to look out for in the markets right now. So let's just start with the S&P. It's a very interesting pattern here. As you can see, we've hit this descending trend line 3 times, but found support in this purple zone that I highlighted a while ago, which is where a lot of different market orders have come in. It was a previous high before the C19 crashed there, and then we struggled in this zone for a while before pushing out and then going on to set higher highs for the S&P. By the way, I've gone into big detail on a few things like this in our weekly newsletter, which can be found in the description below. There's a lot going on at the minute, and one thing that I think a lot of people don't really understand too well is that there's more dollars in circulation now than have ever been. So this in turn correlates to markets because it means that the denominator, which is the dollar, is weakening against the price of an asset. If the asset hasn't increased in the amount of supply, then if the amount of supply of the dollar has increased, then the asset should go up in relative value. Over time doesn't mean that it goes up in a straight line, of course. People will find themselves like quite hard to get their head around that concept because the dollar has been gaining strength against a lot of other currencies like the euro, the pound, etc. So people think the dollar's strong. Well, actually they're just more weak than the dollar, but assets will in turn, or should in turn, gain strength against the dollar when liquidity starts to flow away from the DXY, when the Fed start to slow down a little bit. You can tell that there's something different or weird going on at the minute because even 10-year Treasury bond yields have been flying, which means people have been selling out of Treasury bonds to actually get dollars right now. And I think as soon as this trend reverses on the DXY, it's going to come down pretty quick, and assets will probably rally pretty quickly while people rush to put their dollars somewhere because everyone's scared of being on the losing side of the trade at the minute. So it's actually a broadening descending wedge here. This is a reversal pattern for the S&P. Whether you guys like this or not, or agree or not, I'm just going to show you some technicals here. This is a broadening descending wedge here for the S&P. If CPI and inflation is topped, and if the Fed do start to change their stance on everything, then we could see a breakout, and I presume we'll go to an all-time high, guys. Everyone's saying that we are looking for a retracement. We're in a bear market. We're going to continue lower. It's going to be like the Great Depression. I personally believe that we just have more liquidity in circulation, so the drawdowns will probably be steeper if people panic and push their money into the dollar, and then the push outs will be fast. I presume we will probably see, actually we think we might see one blow off top, and then if we are going to come down, we could do something like that. But otherwise we could go like this, not going backwards on ourselves, but we could go a pattern like this with big high corrections as everyone panics. That's basically what I'm thinking because like I said, no one wants to be caught on the losing side of a trade. But I would presume it would be something like this. I presume we set an all-time high and then go on and set higher highs unless we can somehow curb the amount of dollars or currency that are in circulation. And that's why we live in a debt-based system, which is basically encourages borrowing, weakens the currency over time. Like fiat system weakens our currency over time, and that's why asset prices over time have to basically keep going up because there's just more and more dollars being printed. Not necessarily that you're getting richer, but your dollar is getting weaker, essentially. Is one of the aspects. It's not the only thing, but anyway, yeah. So we've talked about the S&P a little bit there. I do think a key level to watch here is below this moving average, the 50-day here, 404, and below this trend line here. If we can get a clean breakout up into this level, a lot of people are probably going to be talking about Fibonacci retracement levels and where these are going to come in. We can go all the way back up to 439 and 452 before we start to see any big problems from retracements. I personally do believe we are going to go to set a high, and I know a lot of people don't believe that, and I've given my reasoning for that right now. So let's also talk about the Dow Jones. So the Dow Jones has actually broken out of that trend line that I'm talking about, and it's actually going to touch this 702 Fibonacci retracement right now. Interesting level to watch, and something that I definitely have my eye on, guys. So now we're going to get into XRP, and I'm going to start with this price chart here. Actually, just before we go on to XRP, I'm going to talk to you about this chart specifically, because this relates to what I've just been talking about. I've been saying that I think that crypto is going to go on set higher highs. Whether we find the absolute bottom now or in a few days, weeks, or a month or two, I don't know. But I think by Q1, mid Q1 to Q2 of next year, we will start to see rallies in the markets. And then you have to remember that the markets are forward looking, so people start to price that in now. So when's that bottom going to come? Is that bottom going to be different to what we see in the stock market and the equities market? Potentially. Has the contagion in crypto really hindered its growth? And are we going to see further contagion? We don't know yet. The contagion is the thing that I'm worried about. However, in these times of like optimum fear, that's where bottoms are normally formed. I'm not saying a structural bottom looks like it's there right now, because I don't think it is. But at the same time, structural bottoms, we don't really see them for like a month or two until they have formed. So it's pretty hard to call an exact bottom, especially when you're in the time. But let's just talk about this. A definite correlation here between the Chinese credit impulses and the BLX, Bitcoin Liquid Index. Chinese credit seems to lead Bitcoin rallies by 90 days to the top in 2017 and 36 days in 2021. So what are these two charts here? So I've taken this chart here from Raoul Powell's Global Macro Investor, his free subscription service. He's actually relating the Chinese credit impulse to the global manufacturing PMI, which is basically like all the managers who buy stuff to do with manufacturing, essentially where they spend money. Why is this important? Well, when the Chinese credit impulses first, then we start to see a slight lag from the manufacturing PMI, and then that starts to rally. Basically what it's showing is when China put credit out there, make it easier to borrow money, managers then can buy stuff, then they can build things, and then those people have to sell things, and we brings us back into a more positive cycle, and pushes towards growth. And as you can see, this I'm going to show you a correlation between that and crypto in a second. I'm just going to keep going into this. When we've had our last impulse, we saw if you look, every single time we've had these impulses from Chinese credit, we have actually gone to set higher highs on the manufacturing PMI. Again, because there's more liquidity out in the market, I think that there's more money to spend. You can buy more stuff, and then it rips up higher, or it looks like they're spending more because their money's more devalued. And right now, it's a little bit of a lag. So when it flips, if you see here specifically, there was a bit of a lag before it starts to turn, and we flipped a little while ago, a year or so ago. Or it's projecting into the future, sorry. So it's looking at this credit into the future, and this is where the PMI is going to go. So as you can see, this green circle and this green circle are the two times where China's credit impulses have come in. And if we look in crypto, what happened after those credit impulses, you could say these are not related, but I think there's definite correlation here. The first one is the start of 2016. Sorry, in the middle of 2016, and then we rally up to where the credit impulse turns over, and then as I said, we have an extra 90-day rally for the high, and the other impulse is very interesting just before C19, the big crash in equities and crypto itself, and then we go on our big bull run in crypto as well. So essentially, the Chinese credit market, in my opinion, and Raoul Powell's opinion, leads the markets in the West, and then the markets in the West, when they have more liquidity, crypto goes up. As I've been talking about there, people have more money to spend, and also, as I said, there's more dollars sloshing around now than ever before. There are actually 80% of the dollars that have ever been printed were printed in the last 2 years, and that stat was taken, I think, from January of 2022, so this January. That means there's 80% more money in the market to be able to buy assets. So I don't know what people see when they think that we're going to come down further and further. The genie is out the bottle, in my opinion. The Fed and other central banks around the world have needed to print or quantitative ease or stimulate, whatever all these different things. And once you start down that path, you can't easily reverse, especially with the amount of debt there is in the world. Say $30 trillion debt in America. They haven't got the GDP to be able to pay that back right now, so they have to just print more money to then pay at least the interest on the debt, which means that then they have to take more debt to then pay off the old debt, and then the debt increases and the cycle then continues. But this is why asset prices over time will rally, but also will fluctuate when they're trying to suck liquidity out of the market. So, yeah. They're only trying to suck liquidity out of the market because they don't want inflation to run too far with otherwise then monetary system will be completely out of control and they will run into hyperinflation. So that's basically what they're trying to avoid. I feel like I've just rambled quite a lot there, but okay, so let's get into XRP now. This is something really interesting, the XRP to BTC chart. In fact, we'll look at it on this picture here. So XRP BTC is doing something right now we have only ever seen it 3 times before. On the daily time frame, it's broken above the EMAs and consolidated above without falling back below. We're at image 4 now, most similar to image 2 in my opinion. If we repeat, it shows a 25x from here versus Bitcoin. Not versus the dollar, but versus Bitcoin. So let's have a look at what I'm seeing here. It does look very messy because I was trying to get it all in one picture so everyone could see it. So basically what I'm saying is when we've had XRP versus Bitcoin on the moving averages and we've broken above the moving averages and then consolidated above them without breaking back below, this has only happened 4 times in the past, and each of those times we have gone on a push or a relative push against Bitcoin. A 500% in picture 1 here, a 2,500% in picture 2 here. It's about 2.6 actually, if I wasn't that accurate with the measurement, and 384% in picture 3, and now we're right here. So a few things to notice before we go onto the actual chart and I break it down so you can actually see it a little bit better. First off is look at the RSIs on all of these. RSIs are pretty close to the top, pretty close to being overbought in all these different occasions before they go on this rally. Right now we are not very close to the high, so I feel like we could have a little bit of space to push up before we see this major rally in the RSI. Hopefully we see some more strength versus Bitcoin, and then we can hopefully see a move like this. I do think the structure is very similar to this. If you see, we've got the initial pop out and we come back and consolidate above the moving averages. Yes, we did wick below and touch the 200. We held that, then struggled between the 1 and the 150 day, and then now we're back above the 50, and then we're looking to move on out of this zone. So that's why I think it's similar to that structure. Obviously, if you take out this secondary peak, it would look very, very similar if we just come down like that. But obviously, we had the secondary peak, so you can't do that. But then in comparison here, boom, we break up. We then catch the 100 and break up further, which is this point here. So let me show you on the XRP to BTC chart. Here, I should have prepared this one earlier, but I don't have it open, and I hope all my drawings aren't on there, so it's actually clear. They're not, which is good. Cool. So this is XRP to BTC. We're on the weekly. Let me just take us down to the daily time frame so you can see exactly what I've been looking at. And we are on a normal non-logarithmic price scale here. So let's just have a look at what I was talking about. So this is point 1 that I showed you in the picture. We break above the moving averages, consolidate above, and yes, here we do have a slight touch below, and then we go off to push for a 300% push. This is kind of a similar structure-ish, but we do consolidate for longer where we are right now. And there's more. I think it's more bullish where we are right now, sitting on top of the moving averages, using them as support. So let's have a look at what happened here. So we pushed up. We had our initial push here, broke above the moving averages. The moving averages crossed bullish. Then we sat above them and went on for a real high push. And then I'll show you why I think that's bullish. And let's see how long we were above before we went to take off, and say 30 days. I haven't actually compared this to where we are now, so I'm just doing this off the cuff. And this, again, we break above, we consolidate and bounce around in between and then break higher. This is against Bitcoin again, guys, by the way. And then we come down, and then we obviously chop and come down sideways and fall. And let's get to where we are right now. Let's zoom in here. So we broke above, and the moving averages have crossed bullish. We've been obviously in this range for a long time. This is a big consolidation here. 64 days, about double the time that we had last time. We had a nice spike in volume here. Didn't manage to push that high. Came back, found support on the 200, stuck between the 100 and the 50 day. Now we're on top of the 50 day. We've started to push off there, and now hopefully let's see a big push up and out of this zone completely. anything can obviously happen, guys. It's something that obviously came to my attention, and I just wanted to show you guys that as well. So next, what are we looking at? This is another thing, yeah, on the XRP price chart. If you guys haven't noticed this yet, this is just against the US dollar. There has been a trend line that I have used a few times. I actually used it first in here and then here, from the 2019, the 2020 C19 crash. And it's respected this trend line on the daily against the dollar ever since then. And we've just came back and touched it again. And we are now finding support on top of that. When we push away from it, it's normally quite an aggressive move away as well. Boom, there, here, boom, here. Obviously, we did have to grind, but we did move all the way up here. So when we do break out of this zone, we could hopefully look for an aggressive move away from this moving average. The other thing to notice is this volume metric. It basically tells you where most XRP was exchanged. This is interesting as we are, again, finding support on top of that level, which is here. We are still stuck in the moving averages on the daily, so we do have to get above those before we can start looking at anything too bullish. But when we are, a lot of institutional investors use this volume metric as an area to buy and sell different assets because it's where the most liquidity is, basically where the most dollars are. So they can then put bigger orders in and try and trap people in trades, essentially. So there's all that, and I'm just going to finish with two. That's basically everything for today. So I said I'd finish with some things to look out for and some things to look forward to. So things to look forward to and things to look out for. We'll start with things to look out for. Things to look out for, I don't really trust CZ right now. He's saying he's putting money aside for like a crypto trust. Cool. He 40% of that trust is like BNB token. I think he put $1 billion in there or something, or 2 billion, I'm not sure. I don't like his balance sheet. I don't like the way that he's coming out and slaying everyone in the crypto industry. I understand that he's trying to expose fraud as well, and he's looking like the darling of the space right now. But I don't like it when someone's too much in the media because it makes me think that they're trying to hide something. Also makes me wonder why he needs a partnership with Tron, because they're coming out with a partnership soon. Why does he need that partnership if everything's all hunky-dory in Binance? Another thing to look out for, obviously, is Grayscale and Genesis. We are trying to keep an eye on that at the minute. They are stuck for about $1 to $2 billion. No one knows exactly how much yet. They hold a lot of assets in reserves. I feel they are over leveraged. I read a thread, but again, it's really hard on crypto Twitter to tell what's completely legitimate and what isn't. Someone wrote a thread saying that they are over leveraged and they do need that to stay liquid. But let's see what happens there. I don't know if they will stay solvent or not. We just got to keep our eye on that, as I'm saying. Could be a big issue if we do see that fall. Another thing to look out for is Tether. Tether's always been the talk of the town with a big problem. I don't know. No one knows anything about the reserves of Tether. Let's be completely honest. We all speculate that they have no bad reserves. I have a friend who speculates that they have horrendous reserves, missing like 40 billion on their balance sheet. Whether it's true or not, guys, how are we ever going to know until we see proper audits in the space? When we're going to see that, maybe it gets pushed through with legislation. Now, all this is happening with FTX. I do personally believe and have a feeling that if we are going to see a big capitulation event like the dismissal of Tether, or see you later to Tether, and then maybe Binance, go with that, because of Binance's balance sheet, 60% is either in BUSD, BNB, or Tether itself. If we see them go as well, I do think that the Americans will be ready with an exchange to scoop up everybody's customers, and maybe we'll see JP Morgan come out with an exchange, or the likes of that, like people in the likes of those, maybe a BlackRock exchange, maybe even an American cryptocurrency exchange. We've seen this week Russia are creating their own national exchange. Going on to that point, I think it's very almost disgusting but weird that Sam Bankman-Fried is speaking at the New York Times Deal Book Summit. How can someone who's just lost $16 billion be speaking at this event? There's a lot of customers out there who would have lost their life savings, probably affected a lot of people's lives in general. Maybe even people will have taken their own lives because of how much money they will have lost with Sam Bankman-Fried, and he's going to go on and speak at a $2,500 a ticket event with the likes of BlackRock's Larry Fink, Janet Yellen, Zelensky, Mark Zuckerberg, the mayor of New York. Like, I do think this is disgusting. The only two things that I can think of here is that he's going to come out and talk about his failures and what people shouldn't do in crypto, and he might get some sort of like pass for that. We know that he's donated heavily into to senators and Joe Biden's campaign for the Democrats, and so that might get him off from this. But I think it just highlights how corrupt we are in the West, and I don't think there's any disguise in it. The other thing that could come from this is that he may have found or raised some money to be able to bail out FTX, and then he may be able to get everyone their customer money back. And if he does that, then we might see a strong exchange come out of the US at the back of this. Either way, though, my guy made a mistake. The only reason he's even sitting there at that table is because he's put money in people's pockets. I don't care what anyone says. And this is going to look super controversial, or like I could get in trouble for saying this, but that is my opinion. Because, like, where are the Celsius founders and the BlockFi founders? They're being sued by the SEC. They got sued by the SEC, and then they went bankrupt. They weren't standing up at a bloody event talking, and they only lost a few $100 million. I say only, it's a lot of money. This guy's lost 16 billion or whatever it is. It's a flipping fraud. Like, the whole system's a fraud. But I'm not even going to get onto that because it's going to start winding me up. Even looking at his face just winds me up. And I wasn't even involved in FTX. I hadn't got any money trapped in there. One of my clients had some money in there. A client that I advise has got some capital trapped in there still. But one client that I actually managed their money, I took it out on 2 days before because we had a tether short, and I always hold a tether short open. I have been holding a tether short open as a hedge against the market just in case. Paying 2% premium a year on a 20x, it's pretty easy. Obviously, you can get liquidated because there are manipulations in the market, but anyway, going to get out of that. But I took their capital off the exchange because I saw there was going to be problems, so I wasn't actually caught out. But the fact that he's there and he's got the cheek to be able to stand up and speak to people, I'd love to know what he's going to say in this event, but I'm not paying $2,500 to go and watch that guy speak. I'd never do that. And finally, I do have one genuine question. So Binance, obviously being the best reserve there is, I don't know if I can swear like that on YouTube. I do swear a little bit, but I try not to say the F word too much. Binance being the best exchange there is, which is obviously convenient that their exchange publication on their score on their exchange is like a 9.9. In fact, let's have a look. The best exchange in the world, that's convenient, seeing as you own the website that creates the exchange ratings, isn't it, Binance? Very convenient, CZ, that you're giving yourself a 9.9 out of 10 on the website that everyone uses to look at crypto, and you also own that website. So good one, bro. Come on, man. I don't know how you can think you're that much better than every other exchange. It baffles me a little bit when I've seen your balance sheet and everyone has seen your balance sheet. But the one thing that I do want to draw on, so these are now verifiable exchange reserves on all these exchanges. If you click this button here, boom, 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 you can see what the exchanges hold. I'm not going to do that right now. But one thing has been flagged up to me a few times, and it's not my personal finding, it's just something that I do want to know about. I can only find XRP as a proof of reserve on Binance's balance sheet. On none of the others can I see it. So if anyone knows why that is, do they not hold any XRP? A lot of people in the XRP community obviously jump in like, oh, it's time to flip the switch, and like they've got no exchange reserves, and that means that's really good for XRP. Well, if they've got no exchange reserves, how come I can go on to KuCoin and buy XRP? Unless they're aggregating it and buying it from Binance as they get the order, or have some sort of OTC deal with people, I don't know. But I would like that question answering if anybody knows the answer to that question. But I've rambled on enough now, guys. I hope you've had a great week, and I will speak to you next week. We'll be on the weekly roundup with Pav again. If you don't already follow my newsletter, I go deeply into this week, into the DXY, Chinese credit, where I think the market's going to turn, what I think is going to happen next, and why I think that's going to happen. And actually, just as we finish off, I have applied for a Ripple grant this week. So if you do want to help me out, please retweet this light paper. We are trying to create the biggest gaming community between gaming and Web3. I'm an absolute gaming geek. Go and check my pinned tweet on my profile if you're into gaming at all. We've done a lot of research into it, obviously presented it here. I think it looks flipping awesome. I'm super proud of everybody who helped me out with it, and my team with Cryptoinsightuk UK team. And with all that being said, guys, I will speak to you on the next one. Peace up, A-Town down, as Usher would say.